They say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I pull out the Glock.
Full of suffering succotash, son.
One of your nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with just Lucy this week. So last week it was just Estelle, and this week you're just getting me, so you're getting a bit of both. You're getting the best of both worlds. Obviously it'd be better if we were together, but that's just the way it's worked out. Last week I couldn't make it. Estelle talked about it. I was hosting on Spinebuster TV's channel, which was really fun. We did a live stream to promote their next upcoming live show, Thursday the 15th of May in Margate, in quite far down south in England. I know Estelle plugged it last week. I'm going to plug it again because tickets are like absurdly cheap. They start at £5. You can donate as much as you want, or you can pay, I think it's £10 to get an in-ring photo with Medusa Complex. So, I mean, not just them, there's some other huge stars on this card, including Danny Luna. Yeah, Danny Luna from TNA is wrestling. And tickets are really, really cheap. So if you're in the UK, hope to see you there. I will link to Spinebuster's YouTube channel where you can go find all the details that you'll need to get tickets. Also check out the channel. They put out some incredibly high caliber wrestling matches completely for free on their channel, and I've been lucky enough to commentate on some of them, so definitely go check that out if you want to. So yeah, Estelle's not here this week, so it's my turn to go it solo. So let's see how this goes, shall we? Try a new camera angle for those of you watching on YouTube, and you're a bit up higher, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, here to review Dynamite, obviously. Last week, Estelle gave it a 7.5. She was a bit worried that she was being harsh. Some people in the comments thought she was being harsh. To be honest with you, I didn't think she was being harsh enough. I did not enjoy Dynamite last week. Maybe that's just me. And, you know, like Estelle was saying last week, was I just grouchy when I watched it? Potentially. That's always a potential, right? That your mood, like, impacts the way you watch something. But yeah, I didn't enjoy last week at all. And I totally agreed with everything that Estelle said about it. But moving on to this week, it was a vast improvement. Like, in my opinion, like, the jump was huge. So, spoiler alert, I really enjoyed Dynamite this week. I enjoyed it so much more than last week. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get into it. I'll probably rattle through this because, you know, that's the nature of not having someone to bounce off. I'll just go through it quite quick, props, which might be quite nice for you. You get to listen to my voice for less amount of time. So, let's get into it, shall we? So, first of all, we had an 8-man all-star tag team match to kick off Dynamite this week. All-star tag team match is a bit of a gimmick, isn't it? A bit of a meaningless gimmick. Like, what does it really mean? I don't know. It doesn't impact, like, the steps or anything. It doesn't impact the rules. But basically, I mean, it did live up to the name, All-Star, because it was All-Star. So we had Kevin Knight, Mike Bailey, Kenny Omega, and Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet, the Young Bucks, and Okada. That's huge. That is a huge match. I mean, when this was announced, instantly you got people talking about it because obviously Omega and Okada are both in the match. That's huge in and of itself. You've got Knight and Bailey, like, giving them a really big opportunity to make a name for themselves against these huge opponents in the Young Bucks and Okada. Ricochet as well, obviously been making waves, great heel at the moment, and Mark Briscoe too, being all reliable. So, and I mean that with all of my heart. I mean that, you know, in the most positive way possible. Kind of felt like it was the future meeting the present in this match. So, you know, other people I've just been through, it's the future stars meeting the current stars, and I feel like that's kind of what this whole episode of Dynamite was all about. It was all about showing that AEW is in safe hands. They have built stars that have the potential to be main eventers, to be world champions in the years to come, so that when main guys start to, you know, maybe go part-time, maybe retire, if we're talking very long term, It's in great hands. It's in great hands. Um, so yeah, I like the concept of this match. Normally a random tag team match don't do it for me, but this I was here for it, and it really lived up to any sort of expectations. Um, it, I described this match in my notes as a serotonin booster, because it was just happiness inside a wrestling ring. It was everything you wanted. It was very funny at parts. Um, you know, Matt Jackson was doing an arm breaker to someone, and then they reversed it and put Ricochet there, and he didn't realise he was doing it to Ricochet because he had his back turned and he was just so happy, just so enjoying himself. That was really funny. And then he only realised because he touched his bald head. Ricochet being the butt of the joke because his bald has worked so well and he's embraced that really well, and you just love to see him get beat up. It's the most satisfying thing ever, and that was very much the case in this match. It was, yeah, a mix of great wrestling and entertainment. Like I said, very funny. It also went really long. It went over like 2 segments. It was like 20 plus minutes. They even acknowledged that on commentary. Yeah, there was another bit where Matt Jackson gave Ricochet his hair, like he draped his hair up, like I'm doing to my microphone, draping it over Ricochet's bald head, which was hilarious. But it did take a bit of a serious turn when they started going for Kenny's midsection. They're still very much playing up to his surgery, as they should. Everyone knows about it. It's an easy target. That's what any wrestler would go for. So yeah, it was funny, but it had comedy moments, but it wasn't a comedy non-serious match. It had story bits mixed in with obviously really quality wrestling. In particular, from Knight and Speedball, they were working really well in tandem. Makes me a little bit worried they're going to stick them in a tag team, maybe. Put them in the tag division. I mean, that maybe wouldn't be an awful thing, and maybe it's an in for them too. They look great here together. They had great synchronicity, I believe is the word. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And they were really exciting together. They look great. So yeah, they're going to be a tag team. It kind of seemed like they were hinting towards that on comms. They were like, oh, look at these two working well together. So, I don't know. We'll see. But either way, two fantastic wrestlers. Mixing it up with other great wrestlers. You could just tell that they were having so much fun in this match, basically. You could tell that the wrestlers were enjoying themselves and loving what they were doing. That there was a moment where the Young Bucks did the drop kick from like the second rope into Tombstone, but then they also turned it into a senton as well because some of the members of the team were like in front of them, so it was like a combo. That was really awesome. But Mark Briscoe kicked out. Then Briscoe went to take everyone out and delivered the J Driller to Okada, but then Ricochet broke it up. Like, it was really falling apart towards the end, getting really high paced. Really cool moment when Kevin Knight drop kicked Ricochet off Mike Bailey's shoulders, and he was stood on the apron, like onto the Young Bucks who were on the outside. That was crazy. There was a moment around this time as well where Excalibur, I believe, referenced PWG, which was his promotion. He was the booker for that. And yes, he was so right. This had big PWG energy. Everything about the match, from the people in it to the energy of it, like serious wrestling mixed with fun and entertainment. That's very PWG coded. Maybe that's part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. Fantastic way to open the show, just with so much energy. But yeah, in the end, we had Okada delivering the Rainmaker to Briscoe for the win. I mean, yeah, I've said quite a lot about this match, and obviously you can tell that I enjoyed it. The fact that there was story things going on. A lot of times they referenced the history that the Briscoe brothers had with the Young Bucks, and as well, like, Omega and Okada was built up incredibly well. So, commentary said it right at the start. They were saying it throughout the match, and when they finally did face off, just the two of them, it felt like a really big deal. and building the hype for that made it feel really special. So to have moments like that within a quite chaotic 8-man tag, I think is really quite impressive. So yeah, I give this match all the flowers. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Um, Exhibition of fantastic wrestling, also storytelling, also character work, development for the younger people or perhaps the newer people to the roster. Because I know Ricochet, like he's not necessarily new to wrestling, or even Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, they're not like inexperienced, but in AEW they're maybe not as exposed as everyone else, and they need building up. This was a great opportunity to do that, and very, very well done. So then let's move on. There was a bunch of chumps backstage who got jumped by the Hurt Syndicate for being annoying, basically. And then MVP was like talking to the other two, trying to convince them that MJF can help them. And if he, don't worry, because if he screws us over, we'll hurt him like he's never been hurt before. So MVP still trying to encourage Bobby Lashley to give him the thumbs up. So that was leading into a segment that was coming later. Still a very fun story, and we'll see how that pans out once I get to that. But straight away after this was the Ops in a trios match against some local talent. Didn't even write their names down. I don't think it's that important. Yeah, they obviously won. It was a squash match. Just a shame because I know that the trios division is quite thin on the ground, but is this the best we can do for the Ops? Just sticking them in squash matches? I mean, okay, fine, whatever. Not worth losing sleep over, but just a bit pointless. It was a vehicle to what happened next, which was the Death Riders attacking them. So yeah, Joe locked in the sleeper on Mox on the stage, which he obviously won against him a few weeks ago. So they've still putting a lot of emphasis on that if he can lock that in their title match, then he's got Moxley beat, which is really interesting. But it just leads me to think it's leading to Moxley like breaking free from it or something. It just seems like maybe they're building it up a bit too much. I don't know. But anyway, he had to break it up because Claudio did a neutralizer on Shibata on the steel chair, like what he did to Hook. So Joe went running in to try and make the save, but he was too late. And then Joe got on the mic, basically called Moxley a pussy, and challenged him to a match in a steel cage at Dynamite Beach Break in 2 weeks' time. So that is exciting, isn't it? Steel cage match on free TV. That'll be pretty violent. I can just anticipate how it might be bloody, and I'm sure it'll be a great match. So yeah, that adds some nice stakes to their match. Makes it a lot more interesting. So yeah, looking forward to that. So let's move on to Mercedes having a sit-down interview with Renee Paquette, which is always nice to see. Love a sit-down interview and trying that format out. So I just got distracted. I'm filming this in daylight. We rarely get to film it in daylight, but in the UK it's been so beautiful lately. The sun's out. I'm filming this a bit earlier than usual. I just got distracted by seeing someone in the back alley outside my house. Anyway, that's not relevant. Nobody cares. Yes, Mercedes was saying that the Owen Hart tournament is about her and her legacy. Renee asked her if she's underestimating Jamie Hayter, and she says, well, no, because I'm undefeated, so why are you even asking that question? Said that Jamie Hayter looks like someone out of Scooby-Doo. She's got a fair point, actually. And yeah, so the tournament final will be at Double or Nothing. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a fantastic match, and I think that Mercedes is probably going to win because I think that Toni versus Mercedes is guaranteed money-making match. Well, that's not to say that Jamie Hayter versus Toni isn't either, but I feel like, you weigh the two up, I feel like the Mercedes match would be the bigger draw, and I feel like that's the one they're leading up to. But yeah, Mercedes as usual was just her cocky self in this interview, and yeah, no strong thoughts, positive or negative about it. It was just a bit of a break in the show, for developing this story, showing her motivations, showing her as a massive heel as usual. So yeah. Then we cut to Renee again backstage with the patriarchy. So Nick Wayne is flying out to the Japan next week for the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. Um, and then, you know, Jay Lethal then interrupted. Well, actually, before that, Christian Cage interrupted, was speaking on behalf of Nick Wayne, and then Jay Lethal interrupted, and he basically challenged Nick Wayne to a match. He said, you know, you're the youngest ever Ring of Honor television champion. How about going up against the longest reigning Ring of Honor television champion? Nick sort of hesitates. He's like, well, I'm not really, I'm not warmed up. And then Christian's like, he accepts, which I thought was interesting. That's kind of like a face thing to do. I think it's more like a heelish thing to be like, no, no, I'm not doing this. Whereas I feel like Christian just being like, yes, let's do it. Let's have this fight tonight in this town. I mean, he didn't say that, but you know, like the implications of, oh, I'm not going to deprive you of a match tonight. That's quite face-ish. God, it sounded like I said fascist then. Not at all what I meant. You knew what I mean. Like a good guy. So yeah, I think that they could potentially be going that way. You know, if Nick Wayne breaks away from the patriarchy, he could be the heel, Christian could be the face, have them in a feud, have Christian and Adam Cole do something down the line, potentially. So yeah, we had a match made for later tonight with Jay Lethal versus Nick Wayne. Okay. Can't remember the last time I watched a Jay Lethal match. Not keeping up with Ring of Honor lately. Used to love watching Ring of Honor when he was TV champ, actually, and quite enjoyed his work. But yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I'm down. I'm down for a Jay Lethal match, I guess. So next up, we had Miyu Yamashita versus Toni Storm in an eliminator match. Oh, I'm sure we all remember how I feel about eliminator matches. I mean, it just annoys me. Like, if you can beat the champ, then you should be champion. Why do you have to beat them twice? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This was just a cool match to put on without having the championship on the line, I guess. So they introduced Yamashita quite effectively in a video package. I will say the video package was seemed really rushed. I think it was Ian Riccaboni who was narrating it, and I feel like they sped up his voice just to maybe make it fit a certain time mold. Because bloody hell, he was like talking like this. It was so fast and I couldn't even keep up with it. I was like, whoa, can we just slow down? But anyway, like, it was cool to get that, and just to maybe, if anyone's unfamiliar with Yamash, it really put her over. It gave her a lot of aura and a lot of credibility coming into this match. It was pointed out a lot on commentary that she has won. She's been in like 3 eliminator matches or something, and she's won a lot of them. So yeah, it seemed like a legitimate threat to Toni. Seemed like an upset might be possible. Yeah, it was a good match, to be fair. I think that, you know, it was super hard hitting, and I thought that Yamashita came across really, really strong. Like I've already said, a credible competitor. She backed that up inside the ring. One of the moments at the start was really funny. Toni sort of had her ass stuck in between like the ropes, and she was literally getting her ass kicked. Hilarious. I feel like it maybe didn't kick into the fifth gear, so to speak. I feel like it kind of kept the same pace throughout, and wasn't sort of particularly memorable in that you'll talk about it as, oh, this was a really great match. It was not bad, but yeah, I didn't, especially with the other really big, like, fast-paced matches on the card, it did sort of maybe blend into the background compared to those. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it. Toni ended up winning with a Storm Zero. It was all around a very smooth, very fun match. But just, yeah, not blowing your mind at the most incredible match you've ever seen type of thing. So Then Mercedes came out, was sort of like sarcastically clapping her, and then Jamie Hayter came and attacked her from behind, or tried to anyway. She sort of like faced up to her, went for a slap, and then Mercedes went for a slap, and then Jamie blocked it. She was going to attack her, and then Mercedes like ran away. Proper chicken shit. So, and then Toni Storm was dancing to Jamie Hayter's music in the ring, and it was hilarious. But it begs the question, like, who is gonna challenge Toni before All Out? Because, we've still got a couple of weeks until the Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter match to decide who's gonna face Toni at All Out. That match at Double Nothing. Then we've got All Out. That's a whole long way away, so we do actually need someone to challenge Toni before then. So who can it be? Why not? Why couldn't it be Yamashita? Why couldn't she win this match, actually? I wonder. That would have been a cool challenger for her to have to defeat in the run-up to that. I don't think we can spend 2 months, I think it's like 2 months, of just her, well, first of all, waiting to find out who her opponent is, and then furthering that story afterwards. Like, obviously, once we know who it is between Hayter and Moné, yeah, sure, then build to that. But like until then, it just feels like what's she doing? Either way, whoever she ends up facing between Hayter and Moné, I think it's gonna be brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. I love that we get Japanese stars like Miyu on Dynamite. The variety in the women's division is fantastic to see and really fun. And it just adds a bit of variety to the weekly television, which is always a good thing. So overall, yeah, I felt positively after watching this. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I guess I would criticise that there was only like the 2 women's segments in the show. So the Mercedes sit-down interview and then this segment. Granted, 4 women stars were involved in it, but, it's just not ideal. Ideally, in a perfect ideal world, it would be 50-50 split between the women and the men. But more than one match and one interview, I would have liked. But it's cool. It's cool. So then we had Kyle's family backstage promo. Kyle Fletcher was pledging to defeat Hangman Adam Page, win the whole Owen Hart tournament. To be honest, at this point, because they were building, I'll talk about more about this later, but they were building so much to it being Kyle Fletcher versus Ospreay that, to them it was almost like inevitable. Like they were just sort of skipping over the Hangman match and just focusing on what's going to happen when he faces Ospreay in the final. And I think that kind of got the viewer in the same mindset too. Even though, Ospreay and Fletcher, we've seen them wrestle quite a few times now, and maybe we were looking for something different, I feel like we were very much led to the conclusion that it would be Kyle Fletcher winning this match. But we'll see what happens, because that's the main event, and that's not yet. Right, so then we had an in-ring segment with Hurt Syndicate and MJF. So, yeah. Shelton Benjamin gives him the thumbs up. He's happy about it. We already know what MVP thinks about it. He gives him the big thumbs up. And Bobby Lashley, he's teetering. He doesn't know. He's like, up, down. And then eventually he goes down. Max, very frustrated. He calls him a big bald son of a bitch. Backs him into the corner. And basically Bobby Lashley said, you have to prove yourself by hurting someone. So I feel like this is going to lead to Max doing something pretty brutal to someone. Like really trying to injure someone. Which will eventually lead to him entering the Hurt Syndicate. That's the way I see this happening. But who knows, like maybe it instead will lead to Max versus Bobby Lashley. Equally, I'm here for that. I think that'll be awesome. But then does it really work because they're built as like a faction? I'm not sure, but this is dragged out isn't the right term because it sounds like I don't like it, because I do. But this has dragged out longer than I thought it would. Not necessarily a bad thing though. This we've had the same thing a couple weeks in a row, to be fair, where Bobby's like, no. Maybe we could have condensed that. We maybe didn't need like 3 weeks to tell that story, but every week it's been entertaining, right? And the crowd has been really into it. It's gotten really over. So why, I guess from that perspective, why not spread it out a bit? I guess. Then we had Stokely Hathaway slash FTR video, sort of explaining or trying to explain why they're together. And, you know, what Estelle said last week, I thought was such a good point, such a good idea. Like, I agree with her. It doesn't make sense that they're together. It feels like a mismatch. Like, I love Stokely as much as the next person, but I don't think they go together. I don't think that FTR need a mouthpiece, just like Estelle said last week. I loved her idea of having, you know, like a wrestler's caught inside the ring and he comes out like the sleazy, annoying lawyer who's like, well, it don't make damn sense because Hangman's an arsonist, etc., etc. That would have been way better. It just seemed quite sudden just to have him come out with them last week. So I guess this week was trying to firefight that by having him explain it in like this video. But to me, this also didn't make sense because it was almost like he was trying to take credit for things that FTR did when he wasn't even involved with them. You know, like taking out Cope. That had nothing to do with you, Stokely. You weren't there, mate. Like, you just weren't there. So I just I didn't understand that. I understand the thing where he was like, listen, I've got their suspension revoked and they're gonna get the money back for the fine. Like what Estelle was saying about the lawyer thing, like I get that makes sense. He can pull some strings and that benefits FTR. But why, other than that, how does that benefit them? Like he can be a backstage kind of like sleazy guy pulling some strings with them, but he doesn't need to speak for them. They don't need a manager. I don't know. It's just a bit of a weird situation. It's like the semantics between what's a wrestling manager, what's the difference between that as like an agent or like a mentor. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it at the moment. I don't think they've got a connection. I don't think they've got chemistry. That's my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. Yeah. I know that some people really like this, so I'm interested to know why. So do let me know. I got an open mind. You can maybe convince me. So what was next? It was a match between Jay Lethal and Nick Wayne, as discussed earlier. So, yeah, this was smooth, fast-paced from the start. Pretty good, to be fair. Yeah, very good match, as you would expect from these two. And again, it's kind of like a veteran, someone well-known, maybe not as much on AEW TV, but, you know, like someone who's wrestled on Ring of Honor, on, like, you know, television wrestling for a long time in Jay Lethal versus an up-and-comer, Nick Wayne, who is, I believe he's like 19. So he's incredibly young, and we all know that the future is very bright for him. So, yeah, overall, I feel like this was maybe more of a collision-coded match. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying collision's bad. I just mean, I don't know if it was. It wasn't what I expected for Dynamite, and not necessarily. And maybe I'm backtracking what I said because, you know, actually the patriarchy have been on Dynamite every week, and the story has been developing on Dynamite. So yeah, fair enough. But this match just didn't feel like it had any stakes. Really, didn't feel consequential. Didn't really feel like it added anything to the story. But interested to see how he does in the Super Juniors tournament. So I guess he'll be off Dynamite for a while he's doing that. So I guess we needed to keep him fresh in our minds by showing him on Dynamite this week. But commentary made a good point when they were questioning, like, do you think Mother Wayne and Christian are going to join him in Japan? So maybe, I mean, probably not. Maybe they'll be still on television without Nick Wayne. Maybe that'll lead to some interesting developments in the story. So we'll just have to wait and see. Then it was time for the main event, Kyle Fletcher versus Hangman Adam Page. Wow, this was a fantastic match. This was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed this fantastic main event, further solidifying Kyle Fletcher as one of the very best. I mean, what a breakout star. Certainly worthy of our breakout star award last year, Kyle Fletcher. Go watch our 2024 Wrapped video if you're interested in who else won in some of the categories in that. But the future of AEW is so bright. It's demonstrated by this match and the last and the first. I've said it until I'm blue in the face in this episode, but that, like I said at the start, this felt like it was the theme for this episode of Dynamite. And yeah, this main event was just, wow, brilliant encapsulation of that. We had a stalemate standoff to start. So like Kyle was sort of like leaving the ring, not really wanting to fight, which was just riling Hangman up even more. You know, Kyle was being a coward. Hangman was just getting angry, which, you know, I love it when Hangman is dishevelled, and that just sounds like I like it when he looks dishevelled because he's sexy. Yeah, that's also part of it. But I mean, what am I trying to say? When he's riled up, when something's got under his skin, when he's angry and he can't control his emotions, and we've said it so much on this podcast, but it's so true. Like, his character work is just second to none. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. We had a moment where Kyle was busted open really early on. He was like thrown into the barricade, and like he hit his lower back, and surprisingly it made him bleed, so he must have hit it really hard. So yeah, he's bleeding quite a lot from his lower back. There was a lot of just really nasty spots like this that seemed really dangerous. So Hangman hit a brain buster on the apron. Nasty. Then they were like balancing on the barricade, and Fletcher ended up going headfirst into it. Like Hangman like grabbed his foot and threw him so that he sort of went forehead first. That looked really nasty. And then from being stood on the barricade, from that, Adam Page did a moonsault and then sort of landed on his feet and then got Kyle into a tombstone on the outside. I mean, these two, they weren't fucking holding back in this one. It was very high risk, very brutal. They weren't holding back, like I said. So, and also like everything was given a lot of time to breathe. Again, this was another really long match. So like the first match was super long, like 25 minutes plus. This match was also really long. I'm not sure exactly how long. It was over 2 segments anyway. So that meant it wasn't like all go all the time. But they gave everything a lot of time to breathe. They had a lot of time to sell, at the same time as it wasn't like slow paced or anything like that. So very well paced, and it was great that they had so much time to do that. So yeah, just kick outs, big moves abound, like pulling everything out the bag to try and put each other down. You could really get the sense that they were pushing each other to the limit, and this was like, you know, it was last resort towards the end. Like, what can I do to put this guy away? Also, like, we had Don Callis on commentary, great as usual. There was so much focus on, like I've already mentioned, Fletcher's story with Ospreay. Callis was talking about, you know, how they're going to face in the final, and it's going to be some, you know, someone was asking him, is it about revenge on Will Ospreay? That was very much a story point for this. And it got me sort of thinking, well, seems pretty clear to me that Fletcher's going to win then in that case. That's clearly what we're leading towards. We're focusing so much on that story. Callis was just selling it so much on commentary. So that made, you know, the whole ending sequence even more exciting, because you wanted to see if that was right. Maybe they were leading you that way on purpose to, you know, pull a quick one on you, get you thinking the wrong way. So what we had was a dead eye on the apron, again with the bloody dangerous spots, then a moonsault on the outside from Hangman, and then he went for the buckshot lariat, but Kyle Fletcher sort of shoved the referee, like sort of hit him in the eye, shoved him out the way, and then reversed the buckshot into a low blow. And then he did a brainbuster on him, and that was, I was like, oh, well, that's it. And I was thinking, oh, you know what I'm going to say on the podcast about this finish is that it was just great because he was being a heel and he cheated, but he didn't cheat the whole way. It was just a smart way to cheat to win. But Hangman bloody kicked out, so it wasn't the end. I was shocked. And then, Hangman sort of fought back, and then he got on the second rope, like in the corner of the ring, for a buckshot, like a modified sort of buckshot, like really cool one, and then a normal one, and then he won. 1, 2, 3. I was popped. You know what I mean? Like when you're really into a wrestling match, it often happens if you go see it live, but maybe not when you're watching at home. But I was really like on the edge of my seat, like, what's going to happen? Yeah, I found it shocking, and I was so just thrilled by this match. It was excellent. Like these finishing moments, it was so fast paced, it was so smooth. These two had fantastic chemistry. I'd love to see them mix it up again in the future. But yeah, in this match, Hangman came out on top. So that means that Hangman versus Ospreay is locked in for Double or Nothing. So what we saying? Who do you think is going to win? There's so many interesting ways this can go. Obviously we have All In coming up. Not All In, I mean Forbidden Door. Well, yes, All In. I think have I been saying All Out and meaning to say All In this whole episode? Potentially. I'm getting a bit mixed up. The one in Texas, yeah, that. We've got that coming up. And we've also got the one in London, Forbidden Door. So if Ospreay can go into Forbidden Door, like, you got to think he's going to be fighting for the World Championship at that show, right? He's all over the posters and shit. That would be awesome. So how's that going to play out? So yeah, and then we have, obviously Hangman and Swerve. Like, is that going to play into it somehow as well? And who's going to be the one to dethrone Moxley? That's the question. I think that we've got lots of potential paths leading to it, and I'm so excited. It's great. It's very up in the air. It's very unpredictable, and there's a lot of top players in contention for the World Championship, and that's so exciting. And there's so many stories to be told that's going to have people speculating, and that ultimately that's the aim, isn't it? So I think they've done a brilliant job of getting to this point. So we'll see. We've got a lot of exciting pay-per-views coming up. Yeah, Double or Nothing in 3 weeks, I think. Three-ish weeks. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's already shaping up to be a banger of a pay-per-view. So yeah, I guess. Oh, rating this week's Dynamite. It was excellent. I wish Estelle was here because I could sort of balance. Obviously, I'm very positive now. I'm not sure if. Am I being too positive? But there wasn't anything negative on it though, right? Was there? Was there really? I don't know. I'm leaning. I don't know whether to go 9 or 9.5. That's where I'm at. It's high up there. What would Estelle say? I think she'd say something like, well, how could it be better? Like, if it's not a 9.5, how could it, what would make it 9.5? How could it be better? I don't know. I think I might go with a 9.5, you guys. I think that's what I'm landing on. I just enjoyed it so much. Everything was really good. A lot of stories were built and progressed. Last week, Estelle said you could skip the episode and you wouldn't have missed anything, right? Maybe was this week similar? No, I talk myself down. But my point was that like last week just wasn't it just wasn't that entertaining. It was like it didn't really further the stories, but I feel like this week did, and the wrestling I think was unmissable this week. But I wouldn't give it a 10 because it wasn't all around perfect. Like I've already said, I feel like there could have been more women's exposure in it. A little bit confused where like Toni's going next. And And also, you know, like the squash match with the Ops wasn't my favourite. But you know, the limited dose of the Death Riders was really nice. The fact that they weren't the focal point by any means was really refreshing. The fact that they didn't close out the show or start it, for that matter. The Young Bucks coming back has just refreshed things a little bit, I believe. So I think we're on a good roll at the moment. I think this is good. I think that's what we'll go with. I think we'll go with a 9.5. So do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Speaking of Forbidden Door, just today, Stella and I have got our tickets. Very happy to have them secured and in the bag. Maybe a bit more expensive than we ideally wanted to spend on them. So we managed to get tiered but not nosebleeds, which is what we wanted. We wanted to maybe be a bit more sort of, you know, central, but we're more to the side-ish. But that's sort of where we were at. So the general on sale is tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you're in the UK. We were umming and ahhing of like waiting till then and seeing if we could get better tickets, but we just didn't want to risk it because I know that Ticketmaster had been a pain in the ass with dynamic pricing recently and including with Forbidden Door. So I was worried about that. I could see that some sort of more central tiered seats were on sale. They were a lot more expensive. So I didn't really want to risk it and then end up with only the really expensive and really cheap tickets left. You know, we wanted to go somewhere down the middle. So that's what we did today. If you're gonna be fighting for tickets in general on sale tomorrow, what I will say is maybe try and avoid Ticketmaster because of the dynamic pricing. You know, like one seat can go up to a completely more expensive and it's the same seat for no apparent reason other than this dynamic pricing thing that Ticketmaster are really shit for. However, if you go through Live Nation or AXS or O2, try and do that if you can. If you, I think tickets will still be on sale. I think they're like, Live Nation are doing general on sale tomorrow too. Do that because they don't do, well, at least I don't think they do dynamic pricing. So when I was looking today, you know, we spent a lot of time choosing these tickets. The prices stayed the same, right? I wasn't clicking off the seat, going back on it, and it had tripled in price or anything, which I've heard from people has happened with Ticketmaster. So if you're going to be in the general on sale tomorrow, try and avoid Ticketmaster if you can. I mean, fuck Ticketmaster. I don't even want to go into it on this podcast. The amount of times Ticketmaster have fucked me over, like seriously fucked me over. So fuck Ticketmaster. If you want tickets, I hope you get them. Do let me know in the comments if you go into Forbidden Door. If you manage to get tickets, what you thought of the prices. Yeah, it's so exciting. I'm really, really excited, and this week's Dynamite just made me all the more excited. So yeah, I guess I'll just wrap up. Obviously, as usual, please do subscribe or follow, depending on where you're listening. If you're listening on Spotify, even if you're not, please go to Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. That would really, really help us out. You know, we're slowly growing on Spotify, and leaving a 5-star review helps a lot. On YouTube, we hit 550 subs, by the way. That's just reminded me. Thank you, everyone, so much for subscribing. It really means the world to us. Yeah, growth on YouTube is a lot faster, which is great. Absolutely great to see. I'm so delighted that you're here along the journey with us. Apparently you want to hear us yapping about wrestling. That's fine. I will. That's what me and Stal do all the time. Anyway, so yeah, we have so much fun doing the podcast, and we hope you have fun listening. If you do have fun, yeah, do leave a like, leave a comment, share with your friends, what have you. Yeah, let me know what you would have rated this week's Dynamite. Hopefully we'll be back with another review next week with the two of us, but we'll see. Thank you so much for listening.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!